Welcome to our Tuesday live leadership chats. Today I'm talking about cross-cultural coaching. One of the fundamental practices of a coach is to assume that people have more potential than what they're actually using. Coaches help clients to be able to explore options and opportunities and unleash their potential. And what we know is that because coaching came out of Western culture, traditionally coaching kind of has this assumed worldview. But that worldview does not hold true universally. Cultural coaching has to be a part of the coaching conversation nowadays. Although when we talk around coaching cross-culturally, we usually think about nations. But it's actually not only nations that have cultures, but also organizations and churches, professions and families. All of those have different cultures. And many of us, I can imagine, would have been in organizations or in groups where things just didn't meet up with you. Like there was just this cultural clash. Or you've had others that have tried to join your organization or join your group, and there was this kind of meetup that just didn't quite work. And that's that sense of culture. And coaching cross-culturally is about alternative ways of communicating. My name's Kylie Butler, and I'm a part of Christian Coaching Institute, which is Australia's leading Christian coaching organisation. And we've been coaching and training leaders in coaching for over 10 years now. So as we talk today about cross-cultural coaching, I want to chat around just a couple of examples. I want us to have a look at Germans first. Now, my grandmother was German, so I kind of want to give a little bit of insight from that perspective as well. You know, Germans are direct. In the business world and then in general, Germans are known as straight shooters, and not so much as a diplomatic kind of bunch of people. Their tendency, sometimes they can come off as kind of downright rude, especially in cultures that have a stronger emphasis in indirect communication. The reason is that Germans tend to be very goal-orientated in their reaction. They want to get right to the point, not to beat around the bush. Germany doesn't have this idea of a whole lot of small talk in its culture. It just doesn't exist there. You know, compare that to, say, the US, where it is much more common to talk to strangers on the street. The upside of this tendency is that there's not a whole lot to decode. A yes is a yes, a no is a no. It's not meant to be an affront or an insult. It merely serves as a purpose for what they're trying to achieve. In contrast, the Japanese use indirect communication, using hints and mediators to be able to communicate. You know, Japanese culture is considered high context, meaning that people rely far less on words to communicate, meaning they actually use a whole lot more non-verbal cues. The Japanese, who illustrate cultural differences in non-verbal communication, and we need to actually be able to understand how much they place a strong emphasis on social harmony. And because of this, most interactions are defined by a degree of vagueness and ambiguity. So understanding these cultural norms is critical in coaching someone from a different culture, whether that be nationality different or organizationally different. Here are some ways that you can actually develop your cross-cultural coaching. The first one is to study the foreign. We all have things that we don't know, and it is really important to build rapport with your coachee. A coach needs to diligently explore the coachee's culture of origin. What is their background? You know, this might sound like we're stating the obvious here. However, the more a coach can familiarize themselves with the nuances of the coachee's background, the better off your coaching will be. The second one is to know yourself. As a coach, you need to be fully aware of your own culture and then be able to resonate with people from different cultures. So understand your own culture as well. Number 3 is being open to develop yourself. The beauty of a coaching relationship is the opportunity for two-way learning. I learn so much in my coaching conversations, even when it is completely about the other person. Great coaches find that they can learn a great deal from those that they are coaching. And so an openness to learning is absolutely essential. Number 4 is avoiding hasty judgment. Don't evaluate before you learn. Expect the unexpected and stay in the curious space rather than in a judgment space. And number 5 is invest time in explaining your coaching. Right at the very beginning, lay out clearly how you expect the coaching to proceed. What are some of the core, broad, key pieces that will be included? And work with the coachee to define the ground rules. Taking the time to understand others is a key element of cross-cultural coaching. Actually, it's a key element of all coaching. If you're interested in having better conversations with your team, if you're interested in developing more coaching skills, why not complete our 6-week self-paced online course? This one is available all of the time. I'll put a comment in the links below. The course starts whenever you would like it to. It is completely self-paced. You decide when you start and when you finish, and you have access to it for a lifetime across all of your devices. So what have we been talking about today around cross-cultural coaching? Usually when we think of cross-cultural coaching, we think of nations, but that doesn't only exist in nations. Culture exists in organizations, in churches, in professions, and in families. Coaching cross-culturally is about an alternative way of communicating. And there are a number of ways that you can develop your cross-cultural coaching. The first one is to study what you don't know. The second one is to understand your own culture. The third one is be open to develop and learn yourself. The fourth one is avoiding any hasty judgments. And the fifth one is investing time in explaining what your coaching is. Taking the time to understand others is a key element of cross-cultural coaching. It's been great to meet with you today. Hope you have a great day and look forward to seeing you next week at 1 o'clock.